You go through so much, right? I've been cut 5-6 times, right? Being a starter, going back to the practice squad, starting on defense, and making plays to getting cut again. You go through every emotion. Coming off the year I had the year before with like my mother passing and me dedicating everything to her, then making the 53 for the first time this year, then making a Pro Bowl, then becoming all pro. Like, I mean, like, that's the stuff you see in movies, man. Like, legit.
Commanders Pro Bowler Jeremy Reaves is a comeback machine.
And how 5-0. Apparently there's nothing that can keep this fella down. From a broken back all the way to the Pro Bowl, this story just keeps getting better. And if you don't know the story, well, allow me, Shazier, and Jeremy himself to fix that for you.
We got Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs back in the Super Bowl for the third time in 4 years, and Tom Brady has officially retired. Or did he? We're going to talk about that possibility later. From Wondery, I'm Ryan Shazier.
And I'm Dave Damashek. Nice pregnant pause there, Shazier.
And this is Don't Call It a Comeback.
Don't call it a comeback. I've been waiting on this moment my whole life. Can't call it a comeback. Everybody to your feet, make arenas rise. Yeah, I'm saying from the left to right, we get it on tonight. We do it all, but we don't back down. Just give me one shot, one chance, I'ma take it. Fixing up the game, but these records I keep on breaking.
Shek, Jeremy Reaves is a Pro Bowler for the Commanders. This is one heck of a comeback story.
Yeah, it is. But which one are you talking about? Should we start back in his junior year of high school in Pensacola, Florida, when he was dominating all of that state's football and getting big-time D1 offers until he broke his back in his senior year and top programs wondered if he'd ever be the same player?
Hey, one thing I can tell you about this guy is he doesn't let anything put him down.
No, indeed. Big-time programs, though, stopped calling, so Jeremy wound up going to the University of South Alabama, where he was the Sun Belt Conference Defensive Player of the Year in his senior season, but still went undrafted in 2018. So Reaves signed with the Eagles as an undrafted free agent, but was waived on the last day of training camp.
I've gone through all the ups and downs that, of being a starter, playing in the playoff game, and then going to practice squad, and then coming back up, and then going back down. So I've experienced every emotion that you can experience in this game.
He bounced between Washington's practice squad and active roster for 3 years, getting waived 4 times and never feeling his spot was secure. Most guys see their NFL dreams fizzle out at this point, don't they, Shazier?
Yeah, a lot of guys, after they get cut a few times, they don't think that the NFL is the calling for them anymore. But man, the great ones stay along. James Harrison got cut a few times. Jeremy Reaves got cut a few times. And now, they're both Pro Bowlers and all pros.
It was like Geno Smith said. He might have been called out, but he didn't pick up the phone. Either way, when Jeremy's career couldn't be more in flux in 21, his mother passed away. And at that point, Jeremy considered walking away from football for good. But instead, he used grief as motivation and came back even stronger.
I needed something to keep me going. And I know my mom would have wanted me to keep going. And so just, putting my best foot forward every day, trying to honor her the best way I can.
This season, Reaves turned himself into the Commanders' special teams ace. And now Jeremy's going to be featured at the Pro Bowl as the NFC special teams honoree. And his coaches knew it would be special when he found out. Check this out.
Congratulations. You're the Pro Bowl special teams guy. You're the starter. You earned it, young man. Everything you've done, and I know your mom would be proud.
Great moment. And the accolades have not stopped since. Jeremy is finally getting recognized for his years of hard work.
Jeremy Reaves received another honor today, voted by the sports writers to the AP All-Pro team. He was already named to the All-Pro by his fellow players and will play in the Pro Bowl.
And with no further ado, here he is, Washington Commanders' first team All-Pro special teamer, Jeremy Reaves. How are you, Jeremy?
I'm good, brother. How you doing, man?
What's good, Jeremy? What's good?
Wow.
Hey, so I want to first say something, man. You from Florida, I'm from Florida. Obviously, we're from two different spectrums. You're from Pensacola, right. I'm from Fort Lauderdale. But, being an all-area player, your junior year of high school, you fracture your vertebrae, and, you decide to come back and play football from that. Did your daughters ever tell you, like, hey, Jeremy, you probably should take a break when you was in high school?
Yeah, so actually I remember when I went in and got my x-rays and everything, and I remember going in and they were telling me, like, because of the way it broke, it was pinching on my my spinal cord. So there was like an issue of like, can I ever play ball again, period.
Mm.
And that was like the scary part of everything was like, I didn't even know at 17, I had no idea was I ever going to be able to play football again. And I just prayed on it. I did everything they told me to do. I was in a, full torso brace, going to school every day. And then it's kind of crazy. I actually ended up coming back in 6 weeks. And, at 17, I was like, man, get me back out on the field. Like, I want to go play ball, so I went out there and I finished out my year. And then, I'm here now. So.
Did your back injury, like, impact your recruitment at all?
Yeah, so I lost like everything. Obviously, like how it is from the player standpoint. At that point, it's like a liability issue. So I had a bunch of Power 5 schools that began to look at me. I was playing both sides of the ball then, so I was putting up pretty good numbers. I had LSU showing interest in Mississippi State and some of the big time schools. I had coaches coming down because we had a player that was really good. I ended up going to Florida State, and so he was bringing all these big crews in, and then obviously I was playing well, so they was like, who's this guy? And so I started to get a lot of interest, but then obviously, the way it works, the business works, I got hurt and, it kind of backed off. And South, I remember Coach Jones called me when the news broke because I was kind of hesitant of telling everybody. Coach Jones, called me. He was like, hey, no matter what happens with your back, like, you got a scholarship here to come. And I was sold after that. Even when I came back, I was like, this guy stayed with me through this. So, I'm going to return that loyalty despite all these teams trying to show interest back in going here.
No, that's a lot of respect, man.
Yeah, that really is. And then it pays off for the program because you end up being a legend, one of the great legends at University of South Alabama by the end of senior year. Over 300 tackles, 8 picks, 8 forced fumbles, reigning Sun Belt Defensive Player of the Year. After all those accomplishments, are you surprised that you don't get drafted?
Yeah, man. I mean, I remember when I went through my season, I sat down with scouts, Ryan, you know how it is after you watch, you start meeting with scouts, watch the tape, everything. So I was in that process and they had like a second round day 2 grade on me, just off my tape alone. The big question when everybody was like, what was I going to run in the 40? That's what everybody wanted to know. That's like the $1 million question for guys coming out of college. It's like, what are you going to run in the 40? And I remember telling one of the guys, Jim Nagy, who's now head of the Senior Bowl, was the scout for Seattle at the time. And he used to come through because he was the regional scout for the Mobile area. And I remember telling Jim, I was like, hey, I'm a football player. I'm probably not going to run crazy numbers on the 40, and I'm not going to have crazy testing, but I'm a ball player. Like, that's, you put the ball on the field, you say, go play football. That's what I do. And I think I ran like my pro day, I ran like a 4.6, 4.65 or 4.64, something like that. And I remember after I was on the phone with the post, after the draft, like the post draft, I called it. I had another draft basically. It was like the undrafted, pick where you want to go and everything. And they were like, yo, if you would have ran a 4.5, we would have took you with our second pick. And I'm just like, it's wild to think of it, man. It's just like that cost me early in my career.
It's funny to me, because I said to Shazier, I said when we were talking about catching up with you today, I said it sounds super harsh, but running a 4.7 on your pro day, the average of your 2 runs that day, like that, it's that harsh a reality, I guess, that you just fall completely out of the 7 rounds. That's wild.
100%.
Yeah, to me, it's crazy because like for instance, you're a ball player, you're all pro. It's been thousands of guys in the NFL history that's never been an all pro. You know what I'm saying? A pro bowler. And you ran a 4.7, and it's probably thousands of guys that ran 4.2s, 4.3s, 4.4s, and never seen the field for real. So to me, it's just crazy how like teams go off of just measurement so much, and sometimes it's just really good football players. I played it with a lot of football players that were just great at football, and they don't have the measurables. Like my best friend, whose jersey is right here, he went to Prairie View A&M. He could play in the NFL right now, but he's a smaller dude. He doesn't have the measurables, and he just kind of got wrote off. So like. With all that happening, you end up going to the Eagles. Did you decide to go to the Eagles, or like you end up going to the Eagles and, they end up cutting you the final round of training camp? Like, how did that feel? Did you feel like you did enough, or?
So yeah, I actually made that decision. Me and my agent and my family had sat down and talked, and we was like, this is kind of the best fit, culture wise. They fresh off a Super Bowl. They got the formula there. And, there was an older group, like Jink was there, Malcolm Jenkins was there, and Rodney McLeod was there. But behind that, there wasn't a lot of depth. So we were like, okay, we can go in here and kind of push, because I already knew I'm fighting an uphill battle. So we can make a push to, at least get on the practice squad or, make the 53 right out of college. I knew I could play at the level. Like, that wasn't any kind of doubt. So I went through camp. I had a great camp there. And when they released me, it was a bit of a surprise because I had such a great camp. But that's my first lesson of like how the business works. Somebody else got cut from a different team that they liked, and they ended up signing him and releasing me. And then they said that they were going to bring me back on practice squad. But then another guy was released that they liked the year before, so they got him. And so I ended up going home. And so, yeah, it was definitely a shock. It was definitely, but I needed that kind of welcome to the NFL moment. This is how the business side of it works. My first year, because it prepped me for the next 4 years after that, where I was going through the roller coaster.
Well, when you're doing that roller coaster at your level, it's fascinating to me. Maybe not much fun for you when you're in that, but you're a star player at every level. And then at the NFL, you're just trying to catch on and make the team. How hard is it? Or do you just avoid developing friendships? You're a human being after all. Sometimes fans can get that sideways, but is it like, I don't want to get close to anybody at camp because there's a chance I'm going to get cut? And how do you approach that differently going from star to guy just trying to make it?
Nah, see, that's the difference with this game is like it's inevitable you're gonna make relationships with people, man, because at the end of the day, the guys in the locker room have nothing to do with the business side of the game, right? That's above everybody's pay grade. That's above everybody's job title. We just go out there and we play. And a lot of those guys helped me keep going during the times where like I knew I should be out there playing and I just wasn't. And I had to wait my turn. They're like, hey, man, just, stay the course, stay the course. I've got around a lot of great vets. Malcolm Jenkins was one of the ones that took me under his wing when I got to Philly. I still have a relationship with Rodney McLeod from Philly. Then I get to Washington, and then there's Landon Collins, who I still talk to, all the time to this day, and Kendall Fuller. And so, it's a brotherhood. I mean, like, when you get into this league and you play this game long enough, like, it's the biggest brotherhood that you can, have. And so, heck no, I got relationships with guys from the first team I was on, all the way up until now. I got relationships with even the staff still in Philly. It's just like that's how it works in this game. You're gonna build relationships, and at the end of the day, like you said, you're human, you're a person. Nobody's a robot, so those we all meant for a relationship. That's what we were created for.
Don't call it a comeback.
Hey, Jeremy. So Dave is gonna get mad about this one. That's why so many people jersey swap, because all the relationships that you build. Dave's not a big jersey swap guy. He doesn't like
the
it.
timing. I argue it. Don't do it on the field. Fans, we want to hate the opponents, and then you guys start hugging each other after the game. Just do that out of the sight of the fans. We have to delude ourselves to believe that these are our arch nemesis. You understand that, right?
I get it from the fan standpoint, but again, you were talking about Daryl, like that was my guy in college. That was my brother in college. He played in Seattle. We were playing him in a big game. What was that, last year or the year before? For division, like being up in the division playoff hunt. But that's my brother though. First and foremost, that's my guy. That's my family. We kind of went through the muck of going through South together. And so when you get those moments, I don't know how long, if anybody knows, I don't know how long I'm going to be playing this game, and I don't know how many chances I would have to get his jersey and have that moment on the field where it's like, man, look, we got to the pinnacle of what we wanted to do. We talked about this in college. Like we grinded it out. Like now we're here. That's a moment, for like his family, my family, like our school. And so I get it from the fan standpoint, from the player standpoint though, like it's way deeper than just like wins and losses.
Well, listen, I understand. Yeah, listen, I'm a grown up by age, but I'm arrested in like my preteen years when it comes to watching other people play sports. But as far as that goes, talking about that age of being a teenager and everything else, is the NFL locker room kind of like high school with cliques? You kind of touch on Malcolm Jenkins, who's a peach of a human being.
Mm-hmm.
But is there a division between being, I'm just a special teamer and don't talk to the quarterback, and hey, those are the fancy pants offensive guys, and there's the high end defenders. You're just on special teams, or is it just one big collective?
Nah, it's family, man. You'll catch, I call Taylor Heineke 4, but you'll catch 4 down there with us with the DVs, like he's a DV, and then we'll be down there talking to the receivers and Terry and Curtis. We'll be joking around with them, and the linebackers jump in, the O-line even, Like, there is no cliques or relationships. Everybody kind of rocks with everybody. It's just like we go to war together. I always say we spend more time with each other than we do our own family, In camp, it's like 12-hour days, man. Like, these guys, my brothers, we eating together, we napping, during the little rest time, and we watching film together. We do everything together. And so everybody, messes and gets along with everybody. There's no cliques, really. We're a team. When you say family, like, that's what that means.
Hey, so Jeremy, I want to ask you something, because I know at the beginning you had a few setbacks that motivated you and that pushed you to where you are now. But I know you went through something pretty serious in 2021 with your mother passing away.
Right.
Like, how did that loss challenge you mentally, with dealing with everything?
Honestly, it knocked me down to the point where you question, can I get back up? Right. This is the same 2021 is the same year where I came off a great 2020 season at the end, where I was playing and starting against the Bucks and the wild card round. And I finished it well. I thought I was getting over that hump of all right, now the league's not going to see me as just like a practice squad guy, like a fringe guy. Now I've crossed that barrier to getting cut again. And it was like the frustration and the disappointment of that, it was tough. And then you pile that onto, my mother passes in the middle of, out of nowhere, unexpectedly. Nothing in life prepares you for that. I think as, children to parents of our own, we have this idea that our parents are superheroes and they can't die. I never thought there's never a thought in my mind that my mother would pass away. There's this idea that I've seen her get through so much that it just she's always going to come out on the other side of things, And the reality of it is we all have a date, God sends us here and one day we have to return home. And so, it was the most challenging thing I've been through in my life, because at the same time I was dealing with that, I had to put the mask on and come back to work and go about my business, because at the same time I have a job to do and my team needs me just as much as my family does. So, man, it challenged me a lot. It challenged me mentally, physically, spiritually. I went through a lot where I questioned God. I questioned why. I try to do everything right. I try to be a good person. I try to, treat people well. I feel like all this keeps happening, and my mother was one of the biggest supporters I had outside of my father. And so it was the good thing that's there that's not there anymore. Why did you have to take that? You go through the human side of me, went through every emotion you can. But, my spirit, was the thing that my mother gave me and was given to me. My God was you keep going, you just keep fighting, you keep digging. And that's what I did, man. I put my hard hat on and I thought of my mother and I dedicated, everything from this point on is going to be for you.
That's what I was going to ask you is, I know it's a deeply personal thing, obviously, but do you ultimately get to a place where she becomes a motivating factor for you, that she becomes with you, she's on your shoulder every step of the way as you go forward?
1,000%. I always pray before the game. I pray to God first, and then after my prayer, I say, hey, Mom, we're going to war for you, be with me. And that's what I say every game. And so that's the mentality of when I'm tired or when, it might not be going my way or I'm playing double duties of defense and special teams and it's just a lot. All right, Mom, come on, come on, babe, come on. That's that voice in my ear I can hear is telling me keep going. So yeah, definitely.
So I could definitely tell that this year you were playing for something. you know,
Right.
and you know, we all seen the video of Coach Rivera telling you
Right.
that you made the Pro Bowl. In
Right.
that moment, like what was on your mind? Like what were you thinking?
Man, I was just like, you know, you go through so much, right? I've been cut 5, 6 times, right? You go through the practice squad, the ebbs and flows of being a starter, going back to the practice squad, being a starter again, playing in the Thanksgiving game against Dallas and starting on defense and making plays to getting cut again to, you know, just the ups and downs, right? The second guessing of like, is this for me? You go through every emotion that you've been through, and then you finally get to that point where you're at the pinnacle where you say like, man, like I finally did it. Like I finally got here. Like I finally like went through my trials and tribulations. I didn't waver. I didn't fold. And like, this is the fruits of my labor. And it was just like, man, like you couldn't like write that up any better. Like, I mean, like coming off of the year I had the year before with like my mother passing and me dedicating everything to her, then making the 53 for the first time this year, then making a Pro Bowl, then becoming all pro. Like, I mean, like that's the stuff you see in movies, man. Like legit. Like, so I was a wreck, man. I thought about my mom. You know, I thought about just wanting to call her and hug her. Like I could see her like smiling, and that's what just kind of like sent me over the edge, just because like you work so hard for that moment, man. You've been through everything that a player can go through in the game, and like to get that moment and to be able to say like I earned that, like that. That's what it was, man.
Hey, Jeremy, like with Coach Rivera, you know, he has his own comeback that when he beat cancer,
Right.
and he's decided to keep coaching. Is he somebody that inspires you?
Yeah, man, absolutely. After in that video, there was something where it says like, I tell Coach like, you know, I told you I run through a brick wall for you. I actually told him that after 2020 season. Man, Coach doesn't get enough respect for like who he is as a coach. This man, during a pandemic, had cancer. During a global pandemic where nobody knew what was going to happen and COVID was very like real for people and people were dying. Coach gets cancer and he's going through chemo, but he's still showing up to work every day. He's still handling his business every day, and he's coming out there and he's giving us everything he has. Then you fast forward to this year. He loses his mother this year too, the week before we play Philly. This man still shows up to work every day. He still comes in and handles his business. I have no excuse to not come to work every day and play my ass off and handle my business at work, because this man he faced death, you know, like in the most uncertain time in the world. And he still was up there every day, you know? And so absolutely, he's somebody that inspired me to keep going through my, you know, struggles and through my ups and downs. And he always told me, you know, just trust me, I'm going to give you an opportunity. And when I always said, like, when I got a full opportunity to play a full 17 games, I was going to be one of the best players at whatever I was doing. And I'll be damned if I wasn't considered that. So he's been definitely an inspiring factor for me, for sure.
Boy, it's easy to get swept up from a great distance about, 32 different brands and get swept up in the brand. But behind that, like we talk about here, at least 3 human beings that I can cite, including you and Ron Rivera and Brian Robinson, some human beings in that locker room that are very easy to root for. Speaking of that, we have a little audio visual clip for you from way back in 2019 about your goals for the future. Take a listen.
My first goal was to get to the league. My second goal was to make the Pro Bowl. I haven't made the Pro Bowl yet, and so I'm going to get to the Pro Bowl. You can document that now. You heard it here first.
How's that hit your ear now? That's pretty cool. You checked some of those boxes off. That's fantastic stuff. But I'm curious, with those accomplishments, is that the finish line, or what is success going forward? Do you have to be named Nickelback for the Commanders in 2023? One of the top 4 DBs. How's that look for you now?
Yeah, no, that's just the start, right? You set goals yearly. Like every year before the season, before OTA start, I'll get a notepad out and I'll jot down what I want to be, right? Okay, this is my role. I want to be the best guy on special teams. I want to make a Pro Bowl. I want to, help us go to a division, whatever. I take those notes and I might not look at them all the time, but subconsciously I'm always aware that those are the goals, right? And so that's what we're working towards. And so now that's just a start, right? So you checked off a box, but now there's a new list of boxes that have to be checked. And so, when the time comes, I'll jot down those. It'll be, I want to play on defense. I want to be a starter on defense. I want to make a Pro Bowl as a defender. I want to, win a Lombardi. I want to, you check those off, and that's what you work towards. And so I just checked off one group of boxes, and now there's another group of boxes that'll come that'll need to get checked off. So that's just a start.
Excellent stuff. Can I make one request, one critique? See if you can get in the ear of Rivera or otherwise. You need a stripe on those pants. Those white pants without any stripe don't look right to my eye.
Look, I know it's kind of they had to grow on me a little bit, just like the plain Jane white. I didn't even have those in college or high school. So it definitely had to grow on me. But I mean, when we wear the solid, so if we go all burgundy or all white, it's a clean look because it's simple. But
the black jersey's clean too. The black ones are clean.
Yeah, the all black. Yeah, that's fire. The all black fire. They did a thing with the all black for sure.
I don't know about all that, but I'm a big fan of yours, Jeremy Reaves. Before we get you out of here, anything you want to shout out here while we got you on a microphone?
Yeah, I just want to, shout out my teammates. I appreciate you guys always for keeping me going. And, all these honors and accolades are just as much as you guys as it is, mine. It takes a village, and you guys have been my village to help me get where I'm going. And, so I can't, accept all this stuff without, saying, thank you guys for being the best special teams unit in the league, and my coaches, my family. And I appreciate you guys, having me on today. I appreciate it. Thank you.
No, I appreciate you for being on, man. You know, your story is incredible, what you've been through. And the thing is, I really love how, you was one of the best in high school. You got overlooked, and you proved everybody wrong and say, hey, I'm a guy. I'm a football player. And you worked your way up to being one of the best in the league, So, I think these stories are the ones that really matter in the league. So many people are so fascinated by, first and second rounders, and I know I was blessed to be one of them. But, the stories like yours are the ones that make the league what it is, man. So I really appreciate you.
No doubt, brother. I mean, just as much as just as much as this, but you got to go through the test before you had a testimony, man. That's just the reality of life. So, we give in our battles, so we can come out on the other side and say, yeah, I did it. God was with me.
Yes, sir.
Well, come back on the other side of this offseason, and let's get an update on what is now your incomplete story. It's a great one. To this point, we look forward to the upcoming chapters with you on the Commanders or otherwise. Thanks so much for the time, Jeremy Reaves.
Absolutely. Thank you, my man. Appreciate
you, man.
Yes, sir.
There he goes. And next up, which AFC North team's going to make a comeback to the playoffs next season? I have a feeling I know who Ryan Shazier is going to be.
Don't call it a comeback.
Man, Reaves was dynamite, but now it's time for other comeback stories in the news we need to give a look at right now. This is the Check Down. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are going back to the Super Bowl for the third time in 4 years. Pat Mahomes Sr. told media this week that the Bears were going to draft Patrick. He said Pat was hurt on draft day when they traded up for Mitch Trubisky instead, and that he definitely wanted to be a Chicago Bear. Shazier, can Bears fans come back from hearing this all-time what-if scenario?
I'm smoking on that Joe Burrow. Yeah, I'm smoking on that Joe Burrow. That's what the Bears fans wish that they heard versus the Eagles this week if they had Patrick Mahomes. But the thing is, if was a fifth, we'll all be drunk. That's what my uncle used to tell me. And I don't know if you know what a fifth is, but a fifth of liquor. So
I figured that's what you were getting at.
That's
what your uncle was getting at there. Right?
Yeah, no, I didn't know. I didn't know. But the one thing I would say is one of my really good friends is a Bears fan, and to this day, he still hates to watch Patrick Mahomes because he was like, man, we could have had Patrick Mahomes, but we ended up getting Mitch. Mitch is a great guy. The biggest thing that kind of threw me off, and I know a lot of Bears fans what threw them off, is Mitch ended up going to North Carolina. He was a good player, but a lot of people didn't expect Mitch to go that high. And when Mitch ended up going that high, it threw a lot of fans off. But it's so crazy how everybody say, what if? But Patrick Mahomes was available for a lot of teams, and he slid all the way to the Chiefs, and they traded up for him. But I think every team, if they had the opportunity, would trade up for Patrick Mahomes right now. But that's not the case. And so the Bears, they thought they had their guy. They thought they had a guy that was going to be a franchise changer for them. They didn't think that Patrick Mahomes was a franchise changer. They didn't think that he was a Mitch Trubisky. So as a fan, you know that one really hurts. That one hurts a lot. But at the end of the day, like the Steelers fans are, we're thankful that we have Kenny Pickett, and we think Kenny Pickett is going to be our guy. So the Bears, I think what they end up messing up with them is they stop believing in their guy very early. And, you know, once the team stops believing in you, once the fans stop believing in you, it kills that guy's confidence. I'm not saying that he would have been a Patrick Mahomes, but I think that they could have been in a lot better situation if they gave him more support and actually cared about him a little bit more than they actually do. But you know, I think every team right now, even the teams that had Tom Brady the last 4 or 5 years, would say, hey, if I knew that Patrick Mahomes was going to be that guy, every team would have traded 2 or 3 draft picks, 2 or 3 first rounds for Patrick Mahomes. He can retire right now. He's a bona fide Hall of Famer.
Well, let me yang to your yin there, Shazier. I love the what if things, football specifically. And I do think there's a fair amount of rewriting of history to this point. It's because Patrick Mahomes, maybe it's a little bit of a paradox, kind of like Tom Brady. I don't think you could have just dropped Brady or Mahomes into any football situation and they would have thrived on this level. If you put Mahomes on that Bears team in that situation, there's no guarantee that he is the Patrick Mahomes we know now. So
they would have made him start early as well. You know, he would have started early. He got to sit behind a quarterback who's not going to make it to the Hall of Fame, but somebody that's right on the edge. Alex Smith was one of the best quarterbacks in the league for a very long time. He might have not been an Aaron Rodgers or a Peyton Manning or a Ben Roethlisberger or a Drew Brees, but the tier right underneath that was Alex Smith. He was the ultimate game manager. He always put his team in the right decision. He just wouldn't throw the shot down the field that Patrick Mahomes would throw. And, you know, if Patrick Mahomes went to the Bears, if he went to a team that wasn't developed right there with a coach that isn't Andy Reid that knows how to develop quarterbacks, I don't know if Patrick Mahomes would be the guy that we see right now. You know, and I'm not saying that Patrick Mahomes wouldn't be, but it does help when you have a Coach Tomlin-like coach, an Andy Reid-like coach, a Bill Belichick-like coach that can actually develop guys and you know who's going to be there for as long as you're going to be there. I don't see Andy Reid leaving anytime soon if he has Patrick Mahomes. Why? It doesn't make any sense.
Well, the point, what proves your point is Alex Smith. Those early years in San Francisco, he appeared to be a bust until Harbaugh got there, and then the KC era with Reed, and he was a completely different guy. One way or the other, though, the Chicago Bears' best quarterback of the Super Bowl era is Jay Cutler. That is why it's underwhelming and upsetting when you hear Patrick Mahomes could have been on our team. Meantime, if you want to talk about a comeback, how about Travis Kelce's comeback to the mayor of Cincinnati? He called him a jabroni with the Lamar Hunt trophy in his mitts. 5-0. Do you think the mayor is ever going to say the word Burrowhead again?
I definitely think the mayor would say Burrowhead again because Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow are probably going to play each other almost every single year for the rest of their careers.
Shazier, you don't. I'm not
gonna say every year. They're going to play each other a lot. I know they're playing each other next year for sure. Both of them won their division. They're both going to be playing next year. So I think with that being said, Joe Burrow still has Patrick Mahomes' number. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes has a Super Bowl, and if somebody on the Bengals team didn't make a critical mistake, that might be Burrowhead at this time. You know, so because that made it a 45-yard field goal. I think it was 45 yards. And if you give him 15 more yards, that's a 60-yard field goal. So 60-yard field goal, obviously Buckner can make a lot of field goals, but they were saying all game, all you got to do they have to get to the 32, and they weren't even close to the 32 at that time. So I just think the mayor, obviously he ate his words this time. They were very confident. They was throwing a lot of blows at the AFC, champions for the last 5 years. So, if you keep throwing blows at Tyson, and you got them the last few times, you're not going to keep beating them. You know, that's the thing about rivalries and matchups. You got to have, they're going to fight back. And they find a way to win. It's a reason that they've been in the 5 AFC championships, because they know how to win. They find a way how to win. And I think it hurts for him to, he's going to have to eat his words. But say if, hopefully this doesn't happen, because, I'm a Steeler, ride or die. Y'all have a Steeler jersey right here, my dog James Ferrier. And I have a few more around. I have a lot of them around. I have Vince Williams right there as well. But one thing I would like to say is, if Joe Burrow plays Patrick Mahomes next year in Kansas City, I don't see why the mayor would be like, oh, I'm not saying it anymore. We still got you the last 3 times. So, all right, here we go again. And this time, I don't see us making the same mistakes that we made last time. So he's going to have to eat his words, but that's the one thing about sports. You can put words out there. It only hurt when you got to eat them, but once you win, hey, you don't have to apologize. You don't have to say nothing. You just keep on moving and going to the next game.
All right, if it doesn't work out, the trash talking, that doesn't mean you need to abandon it. I don't care if you're a mayor or a linebacker or otherwise. It's good for juicing up rivalries and intense meetings. What we don't need is what the Pittsburgh mayor did after the Eagles got to the Super Bowl and said, hey, a Pennsylvania Super Bowl. What are you doing, man? What are you doing? Don't do that. That's ugly, Yins.
I don't think it's worse. I don't think it's worse than New York City. The Empire State Building put the Eagles colors. But I was arguing with my friends about this the other day, and I was like, there is a lot of Eagles fans in New York. It's 20 million people there. But at the end of the day, like you said, Mayor Gainey, come on, bro. Yeah, this is a Steeler town. You can't be doing that. And in New York, y'all can't be doing that. That's your arch rivals, So, but I understand. It's all sport.
Big buildings. You don't embrace teams from other cities. Shame the devil. Now, Tom Brady embraced another city after he left Foxborough and went down to the Tampa St. Pete area. So I guess that's 2 cities technically. Either way, he is retired again, 5-0. Like you say, we've seen the movie already. We saw it from Brett Favre too. What are the odds that Tom Brady plays NFL football in 2023?
To be completely honest with you, I don't think we're going to see him again. And the reason I say that is I think it's multiple reasons. Obviously, he has a lot going on in his personal life, and I don't want to get into what's going on in his personal life because I don't know, and I don't want to be assuming. Assuming makes it out of you and me, and I'm not doing that right now. So the thing is, to me, the reason I don't think he's going to play, I think it's 2 things. First, when you're the greatest player of all time, and I don't care what nobody else says, he's the greatest player of all time. If you're the greatest player of all time, and you don't actually get to go out the way you want to go out, I feel if you're good enough, you can be like, I'll just come back and I'm going to play until I want to play. So that's one thing. I don't think he did it because of that. Obviously, he wanted to win. They had a team that could win. Their old line was deteriorating. You could tell that they were a very old team. And to me, I think Tom wanted to ride in the sunset on his own terms. And then he had the video. It was very short-lived. He explained what he cared about. He posted stuff about the Patriots. He posted about his family. I think it was very emotional for him. You could tell he almost cried in the video. He seemed relaxed. To me, I think this is the way that he wanted to retire, but the news got out that he was going to retire. And then Adam Schefter and the media took advantage of the opportunity, and that's what they're supposed to do. But to me, I think when you're one of the greatest players ever, in my opinion, I think you should be able to leave the game the way you want to leave it. And I think Tom he probably didn't do it exactly how he wanted to, but this was an opportunity to say, hey, I'm going to tell the story the way I want to do it. And because I know when I had my injury, I wanted to tell the narrative the way I wanted to tell it and not allow nobody else to do it.
Well, you talk about he wanted to have a storybook ending. Instead, he got a reality show that maybe he went back and looked at. And looking at that last performance, probably the vast majority of the season, there are a lot of issues on that Tampa team, but he was one of them. He got old. Finally, Father Time got him. Listen, he fought him off longer than anyone else in the history of pro football. Congratulations on a great career. But I think that the reality probably hit home. Like, yeah, I ain't Tom Brady that won all those Super Bowls even just a couple of years ago.
Dave, but the thing is, I could say Tom, he could have still went to a few teams this year and possibly won a Super Bowl.
I think with Miami, that would be possible. Yeah.
So he could have went to possibly Miami. He could have went to the 49ers for sure. Like next year, he can go to the 49ers. They could possibly win a Super Bowl. He can go to the Raiders. I'm not really a big fan of their coaching, but he understands their coach. And then he also can go to the Jets. They have a defense. They have a team that's ready to play. And they just need somebody that can distribute the ball. Not make Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, and I'm going to even do this one for AG, Jalen Hurts throws. We just need him just to manage the game, Alex Smith it, and Tom Brady could win with one of those teams.
Yeah, maybe Nashville would have been a good fit too. Either way, all the best, Tom Brady, as you go forward. I wouldn't say it was fun to watch you. It was unprecedented. And I don't just mean in the rear view. I cannot imagine anybody doing what he did with that team, with that Patriots team, and then with the Bucs team. I can't imagine anybody having that level of success, even as we watch Patrick Mahomes at age 27 here. Sean Payton has come back to the NFL as we expected, but his landing spot is perhaps less than desirable in the QB league here. 5-0. Are you surprised that Peyton took the Broncos gig instead of one of the other available jobs out there?
So I want to ask you to do me a favor. Can you tell me the teams that all had vacancies at coach right now?
By the time Peyton took the gig, the Houston Texans, which they immediately filled with Ryans.
Payton had first dibs on everybody. I know I know what everybody say. Oh, this is our guy. But Payton had first dibs. If he wanted to go to anywhere, he possibly could have went there. So I'm just saying, just teams in general that have vacancies. So Arizona
makes some sense with Kyler Murray. You can at least blur your eyes, same as you could do with Russell Wilson, the trailblazer for guys 6 foot and under in the NFL succeeding at QB, Drew Brees. So there is something maybe to be said for Sean Payton knowing how to work with that kind of a guy. So, Murray or Russ might make some sense, very broadly speaking.
So, so it was the Panthers, it was the Arizona, it was Houston, it was Broncos, and there was one more team, correct?
Did you say AZ? You said Cards?
Yeah, I said Cards. I think it might be one more. I'm sorry if I can't remember the last one. But the thing is, to me, I think this is the most fit team for him. This is my opinion, is the best team that is to build upon, that also has weapons. The only thing that they don't have is draft picks, because obviously they traded those draft picks with Russell. But in my opinion, their offense is good. I think that Sean Payton, he's a mastermind when it comes to offense. Him having Russell understands what he's going to try to do on offense. I think that they're going to communicate a lot. So, and I think he probably talked to Russell before he got the job. So once he talked to him, he was like, all right, let's see if we can get on the same page. Because if you can't get on the same page with your quarterback, there's no point. There's no point of you being the coach. And because both of them will have big ego guys. They haven't said his contract yet, but I know it's a hefty one. So both of them, are going to be the highest paid at their position and highest paid at their job title. The one thing that I like about the Broncos is that their defense is set. There's not set, but they have a lot of really good young pieces on their defense, and Sean can build around that. And also in free agency, Broncos with Sean Payton is a lot more desirable as a player than Broncos with, we have a young rookie head coach. We have a young second-year coach. That's not as desirable as a Sean Payton. If I'm a player and Sean Payton's the coach, I know they're going to get the offense together because they have Williams at running back. They have good tight ends. They have a lot of weapons at receiver. Their O-line is pretty good. They have Patrick Surtain and that young secondary. Their linebackers are pretty solid. Obviously, they got to get their D-line a little bit better. Obviously, they got Bradley Chubb. But I think that
him away. That's basically the swap. Bradley Chubb for Sean Payton, and giving the first round pick that they got in exchange for Bradley Chubb. Right.
And I think, to me, that a young nice, good pass rusher would love to go there, understanding that he has that secondary behind him. I think that's an appealing job. To me, Houston's not that appealing. You know, they have some pieces. They have Dameon Pierce. They have Stingley, but it's not that appealing of a job. That's going to be a really tough job for DeMeco Ryans, but I hope him the best. And then, you know, Carolina, you know, that team is, I don't know. You know, in the Colts, that's another team. So I think, to me, if I was him, it would be the Colts or it will be the Broncos. And the Colts just have too much, just like brownish issues in the front office, and I'm not good with that. So I think the Broncos make sense.
From the looks of the ads during the playoffs, Caddyshack appears to be making some kind of a comeback in a Super Bowl ad. Shazier, what's the best sports movie of all time in your book?
Sports movie of all time, man, that's a very hard movie. That's a really hard one. You know, one movie I like that was a sports movie. I wouldn't say it's one of the greatest of all time, but I'm gonna just throw another one at AG. This guy Mark Wahlberg was in it, Invincible. That's the name of it. That was a pretty good one. But to me, the best sports movie of all time would have to be either Remember the Titans or Race. In my opinion, I just think that just the breaking of the barrier in both of those movies, to me, just really demonstrates how strong sports are. You know, Jesse Owens from Ohio State, the Ohio State University, went to Germany, won, you know, with 3 or 4 gold medals in Germany in front of Hitler. I think that is crazy. That's a crazy feat to do. And then also have a movie documented, but then also just how he fights the race battle. But then also the same thing with Remember the Titans, how football brought 2 coaches together when at first in the beginning of the movie, they strongly disliked to hating each other. So I just love those movies. Obviously, those have another story as well to it. And then my all-time favorite sports movie, but this is not one of the best of all time, is Express. I just love the Ernie Davis story. So
I'll go, since you didn't ask. I'll say Hoop Dreams, love The Natural, Slapshot.
You
And
seem
I
like
know a lot of
Blue
people
Chips
don't
guy.
like it, but Hoosiers. No. I don't like that. In fact, I'm an Indiana University graduate, so I was offended by Bobby Hurley putting on the Hoosier red and Bob Knight coaching up some of those old Duke players. It was very confusing for my eyeballs. And some of those guys were on Nick Nolte's team. Now you're upsetting me. I have to cut it off. And I'm also upset because you didn't even say, you know what, Dave? When you're right, you're right. You told us that no rookie QB was about to get his team to the Super Bowl, and by hook or by crook, or the hit from Hassan Reddick, that streak persists now 57 years.
I thought the Eagles were gonna win too, though. I just didn't say what you.
I want my credit.
I just didn't say what you said. Right. I'm gonna give you credit for us believing in the same thing.
Yeah, that's right. That's how I am. I'm vain. Get used to it, 5-0. But either way, that's it for this episode of Don't Call It a Comeback.
Hey, make sure to follow, rate, review the show on wherever you're listening. Check us out on YouTube on the Wondery channel, and make sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. See you all next week.
Don't call it a comeback. I've been waiting on this moment my whole life. Can't call it a comeback. Everybody to your feet, make arenas rise. Yeah, I'm saying from the left to right, we get it on tonight. We do it all, but we don't back down. Just give me one shot, one chance, I'ma take it. Fixing up the game, but these records I keep on breaking.